live! Oh my gosh, guys. It's been so long since I've seen you, audience. I definitely didn't just make something a few minutes
5
ago.
minutes ago.
What? No, what? No, it's been an eternity. I don't know what Scott's talking about. But we got EU Legends Wayback Machine again because I hate Brennan. Episode 26, which is the Marvel issues 45 to 48, starting with Death Probe.
Where
Yes.
Luke has his lightsaber for no apparent reason.
He shouldn't have it. He lost it. He
It's
hasn't made a
very
new one yet.
clear. It's very clear this is post Empire Strikes Back because he goes out on this mission to test how well his recovery is going. Right? He happens upon a rebel ship of the line that's been infiltrated by this super probe droid. So it's not your typical Viper probe droid that we saw in Empire Strikes Back. We get a similar type of weapon, but it takes control of the ship and has all this like advanced technology. So it's pretty crazy.
Deluxe model, they say.
Yeah.
It's like the Terminator and the Matrix in Star Wars before those things were a thing.
Hold on. Gotta blow this up.
I say Matrix because the robots
Larry Hama,
like the probes.
Yep.
and Al Milgram.
And then it's a scary robot like Terminator.
This is by Archie Goodwin, Carmine Infantino doing the penciler. I like the rebel ship that the Death Probe attacks. I think it kind of looks like a Tantive 4 rebel blockade runner, similar to a Corellian Corvette, but not quite. Has this radar dish. A little bit different design, but close.
Yes.
I'm gonna love with you boys. My old notes for this when I read through this the first time. Death Probe has 2. Number 1, Luke has a lightsaber somehow. Number 2, completely inconsequential and sucks balls.
I don't know if it sucks balls. I think it's an okay story. It is inconsequential, but it's not bad. Like I wasn't.
I do think I was being
bored.
a little bit harsh on this board.
Yeah. Is that definitely worse stories, even in the Marvel series that we've covered so far?
No.
So it is a gripe of mine that we don't see this probe droid ever again, at least as far as I remember. It might be like in the expanded universe, Abel G. Pena, like super obscure stories, but it's a very menacing weapon that I think could be or theoretically would be used by the Empire a lot more often, because we see how easily it shreds through the Imperial troops there, or the Rebel troops. And
the design's not terrible. Like it's definitely like an iteration of the one we see in the movie, but like I could see this working if you tweak the colors a little bit. This would be like, that looks good.
Yeah, smashes through the hull. Go ahead, Robert. You were going to say something.
I was just saying the colorist is Glynis Ween, who I don't know if any relation to Len Wein.
No, I don't think so.
I do quite like this panel here of the guy getting picked up and having his face smashed into the wall. That looks quite painful.
Yep, and the narration is pretty funny there. He almost became a hero. He almost got away and was going to inform the rest of the Rebel fleet, because this is one of the ships that escaped Echo Base, right? Got away, got covered by the ion cannon, and it was going to meet up with the other Rebel ships at the rendezvous point when it got attacked. And the probe droid, it's called an infiltrator probe droid, and it was from the Imperial fleet of Admiral Damon Krell, who's a new character and I think only shows up in this comic.
Yes.
Yeah.
And first and last appearance, because he dies.
Is that a tan on his face? Like, why is his face blue? I don't understand.
I think he's supposed to be looking at like
that's the shadow of
the shadow from the end of his hat.
Yeah, that doesn't really translate well. The coloring doesn't look right on like digital scans, and it probably wouldn't look that good in the physical issue, but
doesn't look good on my physical issue either.
No.
It looks exactly the same as on screen. It's kind of funny how one of his lieutenants just hands him a printout of his Viper probe droid. Like, doesn't just tell him, like, here's a printout on ink, a piece of paper. Right. So interesting.
Let me page you while we're at it.
Source of technology. I mean, look how old this lieutenant guy is. Like, he's probably been in the fleet so long.
He's still using a typewriter.
We have printed this on flimsoplast for you.
Back in my day, Sonny, we were glad to have everything on paper.
All right. Okay. All right, Grandpa. Somebody put him in the airlock.
And in the meantime, we have Luke flying in an X-Wing, as he usually does. We get a flashback to all of the events of Empire Strikes Back. It's making sure that you know that this takes chronologically after Empire.
I'm fairly certain these panels are taken directly from those issues.
Yes, I think that's right. Yeah.
Because I remember commenting on the fact that you don't see Luke's hand get severed. You've got the thing blocking it.
That Yoda is right from a still of the movie. Looks like that does not look.
Yeah, it would be kind of cool if they did new artwork for it, but unfortunately no. So Luke's just flying along. He sees this rebel ship, and it's been taken over by the probe droid. The probe droid has control of its weapon system. So as soon as he sees Luke's X-Wing, he fires at it, and his X-Wing gets destroyed. So I don't know if that's technically a crash, but Luke does go airborne, loses his X-Wing, and he's just wandering off in space, as we see in the next
I do want to quickly comment on this panel here, where he goes, "It felt like Vader told me the truth, but wouldn't that mean Ben Kenobi misled me? Either seems unthinkable, makes it so hard to decide what I should do next."
Yeah. So he's not quite sure if he believes Vader, but it wouldn't make sense for him to lie, right? So kind of cool that he's thinking about the same thing that the viewers of the last movie would think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, correction, Robert, you were right. Glynis Wein was married to Len Wein. I recognize her name as Glynis Oliver. They got divorced at some point. So
interesting. So we see Luke and R2. R2 gets jettisoned in the explosion as well. But he's able to use his blaster because of the force. I don't know how he can breathe in space for that amount of time.
Luke uses the force to pull R2 to him so he doesn't go flying off on his own.
But he can't pull himself towards the ship. He uses his blaster, and the opposite force of the blaster gets him closer to the ship. And then
this is Marvel physics in action again.
Right.
And R2 bonds himself onto the exterior of the ship because he's an astromech droid. He can do that.
Yes.
And then Luke, I think, uses his lightsaber to get inside the ship.
Which he shouldn't have.
Can't quite tell what that is, but yeah.
Theoretically, he could have made another one before the one we see, but they don't say that, so it's just a contradiction.
Yeah, I'm not willing to give him the benefit of the doubt on this one. I'm willing to accept maybe he stole what's his name's
Baron Tag's. So that's the only thing I can think of is that it's Baron Tag's lightsaber.
Yeah, I'm willing to accept that.
Yeah, you might have said that earlier, but it's not blue, is it?
I think it's yellow. I think it's yellow.
Wasn't Baron Tag's yellow?
One possible headcanon I've heard is that at some point Luke found and repaired Anakin's original one that he has until it gets damaged.
Possibly.
I don't know.
How I feel like at that point, because that was pretty much just completely destroyed. Yeah, it would be more.
It's more effort to do that than just.
It's pretty obvious he would have access to Baron Tag's lightsaber. Like that's for sure.
There's
no reason to think he wouldn't.
I'm also.
Yeah.
It's also back in the day they were not very good about keeping track of whose lightsaber colors were, whose.
No, for
Yeah,
sure.
like-
Luke's definitely isn't blue in every issue before this. I think it's yellow
Yeah.
when it should be blue before this. So
To be fair to Marvel, they're better about it than Dark Horse was initially, where they changed the lightsabers every single issue. But yeah, no.
True.
yeah,
But I'm willing to just concede, for the sake of my mind, that since after episode 5 was super well received, everybody should know that Luke, even if they didn't remember episode 4, everybody should remember by episode 5 that his lightsaber was blue. So, he has a yellow one right now, and so did Baron Tag. Before it was a mistake. Maybe now it's deliberate. It's meant to be Baron Tag. But
Well,
even
no,
just
it's
a
definitely a
one
mistake
sentence
now.
thing.
So
It's
Mace
definitely
It
a
Windu,
wasn't
mistake
an
now.
accident, but yeah.
But it was a
Mace
happy
Windu.
accident in this one.
Mace Windu having a blue lightsaber early on ended up leading to one of my favorite retcons ever, the Concordance of Fealty, where we would get that really nice scene with him exchanging sabers with Eth Koth.
Right.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
mhm.
But
So
It's
he
Baron Tags. Accepted.
he gets inside the ship, figures out it's this probe droid that's
He
has
gets-
control of the ship.
Attacked by this very angry looking cargo hold.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to get attacked by that. That
No.
looks nasty. That's something of nightmares. And I
No,
believe
What am I saying? What am I saying? That in the cargo hold, this is a mechanized hold tender. Thank you, Luke. Yes.
because the probe droid has somehow found out the orders of Darth Vader, if he encounters Luke Skywalker, to bring him back alive and not kill him, that's the only reason Luke survives this encounter, and the only reason the probe droid doesn't destroy him, even though he did blow up his X-wing. It does have like an override order from Darth Vader, and I think that's unbeknownst to Admiral Krell as well. It's been a
So
while
this
since I read
page does annoy me a little bit, and I think this is probably a consequence of the Marvel method, where the artist works from what is an outline basically, and then the writer adds the dialogue afterwards.
Mhm.
So we get slightly awkward moments like this where we don't see the thing actually get destroyed. We just get this panel, and then
You just have to
this
assume,
panel, and the moment happened in between.
right? Yeah, saves you a couple of panels. Although there's not much that happens in this story. I think they could have just laid it out the whole way through. But the order supersedes all other orders from the probe droid. So the rebel fleet is alerted to the danger, and Luke has R2 hack into the controls of the ship to activate one of the escape pods, and sends a message to the fleet that way.
So this doesn't really make sense. We get this moment where Luke is short-circuiting the door controls in order to open the door, which you would think that would just seal it shut. But
Well-
also, it only stays open as long as he keeps the saber blade in there.
I mean, in the first movie, he shot the door for it to close. Wouldn't you think the other way around?
Guys, this is even
controls-
worse. I
Yes.
just realized it's blue. So it's even worse.
Yes.
Well, it could just be the shadow. Like his flight suit isn't the same color, but
Yeah.
And
Sorry.
we've
it
got,
just-
Alex was just like Hat was just like in communion with the force there, and he was like, "Wait, I see it. I see the vision." So
I see the
and-
error.
if you look at the
yeah,
here,
it looks yellow
it looks-
there. But I'm not sure if
Yeah.
that's the
Well, no, I
explosion
mean-
or
annoying.
Well, no, I don't mean the color. I mean the design of the hilt.
Mm.
Can't make it out.
It looks.
This
Yeah.
doesn't really add anything. So like if you were doing like a your own personal like journey through the expanded universe, if you were to skip this, you wouldn't really miss much. So you
No,
kinda just-
not at all. This is very skippable. Anyway, I
Yeah.
don't want to spend too much time on this issue.
Okay.
Luke does get out in an escape pod and notifies the Rebel Alliance to pick him up, and the probe droid sends the ship that it took control of back to Admiral Krell, and it basically destroys the ship, kills Admiral Krell and the probe droid itself. And that's the end of the story.
It's it's supposed to detonate the ship in the rebel fleet, so that it takes a chunk of that with it,
Mm-hmm.
and then when Luke is trying to stop it, he says, "I'm Luke Skywalker, destroyer of the Death Star, the one who dueled Darth Vader and lived to tell about it." And the probe droid hears this and goes,
Twice. He fought
needs
Darth
to-
Vader twice. Once on
Yes.
Mindor, right?
Yes.
Wasn't there a third time already? Didn't he do this
No,
another
Minban.
time?
Might have been.
Minban.
Minban,
So
yeah.
3 times.
Yeah.
3 times. So far.
And that was that time on Monastery.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So the probe droid hears this and goes, "Oh, he needs to be brought to Vader alive. So I need to change course here." And so Luke escapes in the meantime, and the ship ends up detonating in the Imperial fleet and taking Admiral Krell with it.
Because we all know probe droids are designed to self-destruct. They're very cool,
Yes.
but they have this reoccurring problem that they all seem to self-destruct. Even
And
when
this
they're
one-
winning.
And this one, they say that they talk about the fact that this one's been modified in a way that was perhaps inadvisable. It's not designed for this, and
Yeah.
that ends up backfiring.
Okay. So they still have a couple kinks to work out. But it seems very effective. If they sent probe droids like this to each ship in the Rebel fleet before they met at the rendezvous point, I mean, they could destroy the whole Rebel fleet that
the
way,
Empire
right?
could have just had their own version of the Voxen, but with these droids, but they just gave up for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why. You know?
It's like they spent too much time on the Pacifog and not enough time on the
Yeah.
probe droid.
Exactly.
Somebody put all of this quarter's funding into the passive fog. Put
The
nothing
Empire spends too
into
much
the
money
useful
on
project.
things that don't serve them.
Palpatine was presented like, "Sir, do you want the passive fog, which, as far as we can tell, is not effective, or do you want the thing that works?" And he went, "Yes, I would like the thing that does not work."
Hey, it makes
And then that
Wookiees
noise happens. So
sneeze.
it's like, yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
He's
it,
like,
it
"I'm
makes
the
Wookiees
Emperor."
sneeze. There is value there.
He's like, "I'm the Emperor of the universe. I got money to spend. Just use it all."
Finally, the Wookiees will know what it feels like to be allergic to them.
You can imagine someone like Jenna Zan Arbor hearing about the Pacifog and going, "What? I could make something better than that in a day."
And then she
Mhm.
does. That's the retcon. That's the story. That's why she did the thing at Qui-Gon. She just like, oh, that one guy, that one time, the Imperial. Oh, that happens before
Well, maybe they were
There's-
working on it for a real long time. Maybe this took like
time
the death.
travel.
Maybe this was like a 50-year project to make something that didn't work.
It all
That'd be
started
pretty
from Zen Arbor's attempts on Qui-Gon, and it trickles down all the way here. We can make this be okay. We can make this be decent.
We're gonna make something real bad. We're gonna make.
We could do
something
it
real
just
bad.
like this issue, where
The concept
like,
art
Obi-Wan Jordan did the
started
same
with
thing.
the concept art started with the Geonosians, right? Way back
Mm.
when, and moved from Imperial scientist to Imperial scientist. Anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
this is
you've been
issue
sticking
40.
with us this long, you're in for a real treat because Cody
No one has.
Sunchild, The Dreams of Cody Sunchild, I think is one of the, may not be the best Marvel Star Wars comic of the 1977 series, but it's one of the most intriguing for sure.
Yes.
And has a lot of interesting backstory.
Yes.
And we got an entire chapter in Supernatural Encounters, chapter 82, The Kingdom of Dreams, entirely dedicated because this comic exists. And it's so weird and out there.
And there is a very involved story, which used to be on Wikipedia, of how the author or the writer, in this case, wrote the comic, and Lucasfilm didn't like that and changed the story.
Basically,
Not
he's
necessarily
like
with
a
his.
pacifist.
I have it pulled up
like
right
that.
here, and I can.
I actually have hold on. I took screenshots, which I have inserted here between the end of this issue and the beginning of the next one.
Mhm.
Is there a way to zoom that in?
So he changes his name to Wally Lumbago for the writing credit on this.
The person who wrote this, his name is J.M. DeMatteis. He is a very famous comic writer. He wrote
Justice League International.
He did write Justice League International, which is very good. He wrote Kraven's Last Hunt, which is very famous. He wrote.
I know about that. I don't even read comics.
He wrote a bunch of things. He's very critically acclaimed. He's very important. And as far as I know, and let me check this, but I'm pretty sure this is the only time he wrote Star Wars. Yes.
That is correct.
Well, that would make sense because
Yes.
the whole thing with this was that he wanted to write like a pacifist story, and everyone was kind of in agreement with Cody Sunchild in the original draft, and Lucasfilm was like, no. So then you get Lando basically being a mouthpiece for something that the writer doesn't agree with.
Yeah. Lucasfilm went in and changed the ending, basically. And
so what I will say, and I don't, typically talk about Supernatural Encounters left and right on this. This is primarily about the expanded universe. But one thing I appreciate, and this happens with a lot of things, because, as the years go by, we forget about a lot of the old space operas that existed long before Star Wars, and that without them, Star Wars wouldn't exist, and people just, you're like, what? Doesn't matter, just Star Wars. But it's because of them that Star Wars even exists. And in the same way, I appreciate how Joe, when he wrote that particular chapter, he went back and basically retconned their retcon of changing what the author intended, because it's kind of extremely disrespectful, especially for something that was like, I don't know, what are you making Lando be, like a person that likes violence? Because it's kind of like all it's anyway, but it gets retroactively fixed.
Well, you don't. It doesn't. As much as I love Supernatural Encounters, technically, we don't. It doesn't even need. We don't even need Supernatural Encounters completely, because, at least according to the book, the UK published the original version. So the UK version, the Star Wars Weekly or Empire Strikes Back Weekly, probably at this point, would have published the real version.
Yes, I've got that. I've got that page here as well.
There's two major changes or notable changes, as I understand it. Brennan in the chat, good to see you, sir. Join us for an episode, would you? Anyway, I'm sure you're busy with other things. But the two notable changes, one is Lando's reaction to learning about Cody Sunchild, the world that he's created in this other dimension, which Cody Sunchild, he used to be a rebel leader in the early days of the rebellion before the alliance was a thing. It's been retconned when exactly this happened a lot. I think the Essential Guide to Chronology changed it to be like 3 BBY, which I think is way too early. I don't like that change, by the way. But suffice to say, in his battles with the Empire, he got shot and landed in the fire pit of one of these planets that the fire pit had some significance to the gods that they worshipped. And Cody Sunchild, he's a species that has some telekinetic power to begin with, but when he fell in this void, he becomes this, develops this power that he can create things out of just thinking them.
Also, what's cool is he is a proto rebel because as we get with his backstory, which we'll get into, he's basically, I mean, I'm sure a bunch of people did this in different sectors of, the galaxy, but he's one of the people that kind of tried to rise up against the Empire before the rebellion kind of became like a structured sort of organization. So
I quite
in
like
other
this
words, he's
cover.
a separatist, right?
yeah, so he's a separate.
I quite like this cover.
Yeah, it is.
That's a good
With,
cover, yeah.
Yeah, with
Yeah,
him,
space
with the
Spooky
giant
little
hands ripping the
man.
thing apart and the cracks along the
Scott, if you were
hull
walking
here.
by and you saw that on the rack, would you buy that?
definitely,
Oh, yeah.
definitely. And
Mm.
one thing to note that when we've been covering these comics, I failed to mention the dates on the comics. Those are the dates the comics were to be taken off the rack, not necessarily when they. So this one says April 80, April 1980.
Yeah.
That's when it would have been removed from the rack. So it came out before then.
According to
in the
Wikipedia,
Wayback.
it came out January 20th of 1980, 1981. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, that's
Anyway,
weird.
it doesn't really matter.
Because there
so-
were two versions, right? One in the weekly and then one in the
Right.
U.S. version. So who knows what
So-
Wikipedia has?
Al, you know what Wally Lumbago makes me think of?
My
Steve
back
Lombard.
hurts.
Yes.
Oh,
So
I
Steve
was
Lombard
thinking
was
of
the-
Red Dead Redemption.
Yes.
I can't help you. I got Lumbago. You
don't
only
know
get
where
that
they
if
came
you
up with
played
that
Red
name.
Dead Redemption. It's okay. Somebody
No, I
when
got
you
that
watch
reference,
this-
Alex.
he's got
And,
you played Red Dead Redemption.
Yes.
Forgot. Yeah.
Tom Palmer, we'll be seeing more of him later, but I think he's the best inker we've seen for Carmen Infantino's issues.
Artwork's
looks
great, very intriguing story. I don't know if you want to say anything more about Robert, the changes from what the author originally intended.
We can go over
how
them
about
when we get there, if that's
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
But we
yeah,
go
I
through
think that
the
works.
issue and then we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
So we have Lando and Chewbacca. They're searching for Han. Han's been frozen in carbonite, and they have trouble with the Falcon. And there's this void they come across and enter another dimension. When they find Cody Sunchild, he says, "Oh, you had a problem with I forget what they mentioned on the technological aspects of the ship, but it's not necessarily hyperdrive, but they had like a problem that finds this void in space, and they enter into the void. They aren't really sure what to make of it, but they encounter this city which has Cody Sunchild. Lando recognizes him because he's a famous person in history, and used to be a member of the Separatists or Rebel before the Rebel had an alliance, and he had a Wookiee second in command who's also there. So basically, all of his compatriots from the early struggle against the Empire, they've decided to lay down their arms. Cody Sunchild explains his backstory of how he got these powers and is able just to create this pacifist commune, really, in this other dimension. And he talks to Lando. Lando, in the modified version, the way the Lucasfilm changed it, Lando's almost disappointed by him and says, like, you abandoned the fight against the Empire. You should have used your superpowers that you gained to fight against the Empire, to fight for freedom.
Was
Sorry.
it just the final page that was changed?
No, it was
No,
Lando's
pretty much
reaction all the way
pretty
throughout.
antagonistic.
Yeah. So Lando was more in agreement rather than being antagonistic as he is in this version. So Lando's like, "What are you doing?" They fight this person outside the city. So the Haven is basically
Spider-Man.
Inside the city. That's how they encounter Cody Sunchild. Cody Sunchild uses his power to stop that thing from attacking him. And Lando's like, "Whoa, where do you get this power?" You can jump ahead, and he's got this superhero costume.
He
I'm the greatest
absorbs
friend
it
you'll ever
into
know.
himself. Because this is meant to be, an aspect of
Him.
Yes.
It's like a Filoni Baloney like did that like one episode with Yoda, and then there's like a little evil Yoda and his like
Sunny
dream
Day
or
in the
whatever.
Void. Or
Yeah.
no, I
I
thought you
forget.
meant
It was
Sunday
in
Day in
season
the Void.
6.
Yeah. Lost episodes.
I
I
do
like
my
the way-
best to not remember anything about the Clone Wars. I'm being honest.
It's a good move. It's a good move.
I like the
Yeah.
way Lando and Chewbacca are drawn in this issue.
Yeah, Lando's drawn very good. I like
Lando.
his
I like
I
to
don't
keep
think
the
Lando
red
ever
collar.
looks bad.
red
Oh.
collar. Looks
Yeah.
very distinguished. And so Lando's not convinced. Chewie seems to be convinced. He mentions it's been so long since he saw his home planet, seeing another Wookiee to see his second in command. I think he has a name. I totally forget it. I'm blanking on it.
Naked statue.
Because
Of course,
why not?
they made sure to draw the butt in a little detail.
Mm.
They didn't have to do that, but
They
went
didn't
out of their
have
way
to. They didn't have to, but they threw you a little bone, Alex. They wanted you. They wanted you to get some out of this.
Ansible Belliard is the other Wookiee. Is a first and a last name, which I think is pretty unusual for a Wookiee.
I think that might be this guy rather than the
I
Wookiee.
thought he is too, but the only way that would make sense is if he's referring to himself like in the third person.
To be
Well, I
fair,
think
I've been
that's what
reading a lot of Marvel
I think that's
Transformers.
what
They will
he's-
do that.
Okay, maybe.
So
I think that's what he's doing.
Okay. It's probably this guy's probably referenced in Supernatural Encounters, so
Hold on, let me see.
we'll use that version of events. So the Wookiee isn't named. I thought he was, but Chewie is very taken in by the fact that they have this whole society that's the Empire doesn't exist. They've created this carve out in this other dimension that has peace, and Lando's not buying it. Lando's like, we got to fight the Empire. We got to find Han.
You're a coward.
Right, you're a coward. You're not using your powers in the right manner. So he's very much against the whole pacifist aspect of this city, which looks very neat. I'm not sure
Does
about
look
that
cool.
statue personally, but
Listen, some people they need
Who needs?
things.
Who needs?
Yeah.
Alex, you need some? You know?
No, I was saying, I said that
Oh, okay,
the people
okay.
that live in this world. Cody Sunchild obviously needs it. He's the one
Okay.
that called this up.
Okay.
Exactly.
Imperial Fleet has a Captain Plick, who's a woman. She's more in a Star Trek uniform, doesn't wear Imperial
kinda looks like
standard
Leia.
uniform. Yeah, kind of looks like Leia. Maybe she's distantly related to Leia. Maybe she's from Alderaan. Anyway,
What?
We don't
She
see
has-
any female captains in the Empire.
That's true.
no, not at all. Definitely not female admirals, because that would be contradictory to the Jedi Academy trilogy. But anyway, she has a fleet, even though she's just a captain, and she encounters this void that's an opening in space to the Cody Sunchild dimension.
There's
that
also
Lando-
that 16-year-old girl in Empire.
yes,
Sorry, yeah.
and I Jedi, yes.
Yes.
I think she just turns into a pirate, though. I don't think she's stays in the Imperial service for very long. She's a governor, though, regional governor.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're getting off topic.
Yeah,
So
sorry.
here's some scenes from the backstory. The battle that Cody Sunchild got his superpowers from.
So this would be during the dark
he
times.
talks- He talks about how to everyone else he was this rebel hero who was in it for the cause, but privately he was really just in it for the sheer violence of it.
He enjoyed
Because-
it.
Yes.
Yeah. He talks about it as a revolution. So fighting against the Empire. Initially, he started the fight because he didn't like the Empire's tyranny. But then he says when he really thought about it, he liked killing people. He liked the violence, and that's when he discovered that he decided to become a pacifist and abandon the fight, really. And Lando was wondering, like, what happened to him. It's, I guess he was presumed dead after this battle, and is surprised to see him alive here. Kind of looks, grows a beard, kind of looks like a god, sort of Thor type figure.
Yeah.
He
Gandalf.
basically came to the conclusion, I have these, someone like me with powers like these could be very, very dangerous. So I need to separate myself from all of this so I don't do any damage.
Mm-hmm.
Probably wise.
With great power comes great dissociation with the world.
Yes.
Yep. And the
That's Cody
Imperials,
Sunchild's version.
the Imperial fleet ends up going through this void in space and ends up attacking the city. Once they find this city in space, they think it's either a planet that hasn't been under the Empire's control, or it's a secret rebel base, which, if you're trying to hide a secret rebel base, a different dimension would be a great place to put it.
I've heard of worse places to put it. Like
Yes.
the exact same place on the exact same planet after they tried to blow you up with the Death Star.
Right. And Lando is arguing with Cody Sunchild about what they should do, because the Imperials are obviously going to destroy the city. And then Cody Sunchild, initially, he uses these his superpowers to create the demons. That's the thing that attacks the Star Destroyer on the cover of this issue. And then he changes his mind and says, well, maybe I shouldn't do this. I'm going against my whole principle. And Lando and the droids and Chewbacca escape in the Falcon, but everybody else is trapped within the void. Cody Sunchild is killed by the Imperial bombardment, and that's the end of the story.
And Lando's basically vindicated by the end of the story because Cody Sunchild, did what he'd basically been asking the whole issue in the edited version. So
yeah. He's very
I-
distraught about the loss of Cody and the fact that the Imperials killed him. Like, they went into his home, his separate carve out there, and just destroyed him. So it just reiterates the fact of how cruel the Empire is, and the fact that
I like J.M. DeMatteis's vocabulary. Words like truculent and pusillanimous.
yeah, it's fun.
God.
Yep.
I would kill to know words like that. I'm just dumb guy.
so
Do we want to talk about the end there? Do we want to talk about
Oh, wait. I want. So wait, go back up, Robert.
Yes.
answer me, idiot.
I like this
I
little
feel that
part.
one.
So he goes, Calrissian, Lando, try to understand the importance of what we're doing here. If there are no examples of another path, then none will ever walk it. And he goes, what good's your precious examples when you're secure here and millions are enslaved on the other side? He said, curse you, Calrissian, who are you to judge me? Answer me, idiot. And then Lando goes, that's what I like to hear. A little human rage. Maybe there's hope for you yet. And then you just see him looking all solemn in the next panel. I
The
love that.
banter's pretty good here. So
Oh,
it's not boring. It's very intriguing. You're not sure who to believe, if Lando's right or Cody's right. So
This
not
is
your
one
typical.
of the signs of an improvement coming in the wake of Empire Strikes Back, because that definitely is the case.
Yeah.
I think
So go ahead.
I think I lean towards Lando. I think he's mostly right and Cody's slightly right. Because
Agree.
Lando's he is being a bit harsh. But
But they
Cody
blew up a
himself-
planet.
There's something to be said about protecting the people you're responsible for. So Cody is still the leader of this dimension, right? This haven, this commune that he's carved out. And when the Empire shows up, I think he has a duty to protect everybody there because they look to him as their leader, right? So what he say goes. And if he just stops creating those demons that fight against the Star Destroyer, they're just defenseless. And then they all die. So, I mean, yes, he doesn't abandon his principles, but he does abandon any defense of his men, of his people. So
we
But
had
in
a
so doing,
real
doesn't
long
he?
argument about this when we did Super Lit.
Mm,
And I don't remember which episode that was.
I don't either.
It's been too long. It's been way too long. We got to re-listen to those. You and me,
Yeah.
Alex. We got to
Yeah.
re-listen to those. Probably not. Those are very long, and I would have to
They're very
re-review
long.
them. But I remember we
Carlos
had a
Ford.
real long argument about that, and
Me and you?
no, well, not even me and you,
Oh.
I don't think, but like the
I don't
panel,
know.
like all of us,
Mm,
because I don't think any of us completely agreed with the other. Could
mm.
be wrong. But I was very firmly like, I think Lando in this version is correct. It's
Yes.
it's really hard for me to take the side of Cody Sunchild after they blow up a planet.
Mm.
It's
He
I want
doesn't
to
have-
agree with him, but I just don't.
I don't know if he knows they destroyed Alderaan,
True. That's
Probably
fair.
not.
but yeah.
But even before Alderaan, like they're I don't think at any point in the continuity the Empire has done anything good. Like I'm trying to think, and they've done plenty of bad.
Sure. I think it's even evident in the later stages of the Republic how corrupt, what becomes the Empire is. It's just made worse after Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. Right.
I think there's something to be said. I mean, the reason he stops attacking the Empire anyway is because he realizes on a deep level that it's not even really about that. Like, he uses it as a front. That's how he justifies it. That's how he gets people behind him. But at the end of the day, behind closed doors, when it's just him, God, or whatever you want to believe about that, he does it because he likes it. And I think that's a very scary thing to realize about yourself. And so I understand not wanting to participate anymore in that, because you're not doing it for justice. You're doing it because it's sort of the same thing where people, with the Dexter show, people idolize and say that Dexter's a hero. And in some sense he is. I mean, if in that show, I mean, he kills so many serial killers that he is saving tons upon tons of lives if he just let them run free, because these are people who get away from the law.
He kills,
but he's not doing it because of justice. He's doing it because he likes it.
Yeah.
So it's sort of the same thing with Cody Sunchild. So I understand his predicament there. And let's say he didn't die at the end of this issue. If he went back and joined the rebellion, sure, I mean, he's gonna be a great help because he's got all these powers. But he'd be killing for the sake of it, not for the sake of other people.
Yeah.
And I think that's a scary thing to allow someone to continue to do, because that can, and especially in a world where the Force exists. And I know he's not using the Force, although I think you could argue that he must be some sort of Force sensitive. That's a corrupting thing. And I think it's a very dangerous thing for him to continue to do with his ability.
Well, there's a couple there's a couple parallels to Luke. Just real quick, Alex or Robert. There's one mention when Lando is arguing with Cody. He says, "Spare me your messianic rumblings, Sunchild." I guess assuming that Cody's thinks of himself as a messiah, as a savior of the galaxy that's secluding himself in this void because he has these superpowers.
So,
well, it's kind of he makes that term. So I was like, well, what does that mean? But there's also some parallels to Luke Skywalker after he becomes a Jedi Master, and the fact that he, especially after Dark Empire, he thinks he knows that he could become a danger to the galaxy.
Yeah,
just
true.
His powers. So a lot of similarities.
at the beginning of Black Fleet, there was he was like, I guess I just should go
Wanna
into
be a hermit.
exile. Yeah, that was dumb. That
So-
that was like that's pure Luke. That's pure Luke. Just like, hey, what if I make a really dumb decision? That's awesome. That's my
Yeah.
favorite character.
But sorry,
So,
Robert, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
So, my answer to Cody Sunchild's whole philosophy is, okay, you don't want to kill anyone, and you're worried about what you might do with these powers that you have. Okay, fine, but there are ways to help that don't involve violence, and you don't have to, hide yourself away in this ivory tower that you've constructed, where conveniently you, unlike everyone else, don't have to live under the Empire.
Yeah.
That's there's a really great Batman story. Because I love taking this stream to anywhere other than Star Wars. That's my job.
You're the
Alex.
comic guy. That's what we have you. It's one of the best things. You give us insights to things that I don't know about. So
There's after the big earthquake hits Gotham and Batman Cataclysm in No Man's Land, when everything is an apocalypse and everything's destroyed, and roving criminal gangs run the streets, and the police are reduced to another criminal gang basically. There is this character by the name of Leslie Tompkins, who's very famously a pacifist and does not like violence. Even though she helped raise Batman, she does not like violence. To Robert's point, when No Man's Land hit, it was complete violence. It is the most violent period of Batman's history. But she didn't leave the city. She just set up a little clinic, and she bet you can't fight here, you can't settle any scores here, but I will help you. I will stay here. I will put my life in danger, and I will help you as long as you do not do violence in my little space here. And I think that Cody Sunchild, if he were being completely honest with himself, could do maybe not that, but he could do something in that direction.
Yes.
I agree. I agree.
She goes as far as to treat. I don't know if anybody knows who Victor Zsasz is. He's the guy with the tally marks all over him.
Yes.
Yes. He lost a lot of blood fighting Killer Croc, and she saves his life because she's like, I don't discriminate between patients. It's if you need my help, I'll help you. To which everyone said, Leslie, are you stupid? It's Victor Zsasz. He's the worst one. He's the worst one you could help. But she stuck by her principles, and that was really sick.
Admirable.
Yeah.
Same thing with.
If only she'd done that with a certain other character.
Well, that was later and worse and bad. And technically she did. It's just that she didn't do so in a useful way. Anyway, that's a side point.
Yeah.
But listen, the conversation we were just having. Sorry.
As for Cody letting himself be killed by the Imperials, how does that help anyone?
I'm not sure he's letting himself getting killed. It's just he doesn't want to present a defense, right? He doesn't want to use his power. And part of being a pacifist is saying if somebody comes at you, you're not going to defend yourself, right? So that's just the result.
Thing is, so he does save Lando though, because he traps them in the dimension in a dimension. So he does die, but they also can't cause anybody else harm because they're stuck in his dimension.
Well, the Imperials are only stuck there because they what did they? Hang on, there's a bit here that
they use their antimatter something. I don't know. It's very technical. It doesn't really make sense, but they use some aspect of the Star Destroyer hyperdrive to get in there to begin with.
Here it is. If we rechannel the hyperdrive pods back into the lasers, that's not a thing. We can level that city, but the strain will cripple us, I know, and that ship out there will doubtless destroy us all. So yes, that happens, and now they're stuck in this dimension.
Yeah.
Right. And they're in a separate dimension, but when Lando's flying out of there with the Falcon, he can still see the Star Destroyers in there. There's a panel towards the end where he actually sees the Star Destroyers still there. And then the captain says, aren't you going to finish us off? Like, grant us a noble death. And he's like, no, I'm going to take a page from Cody's philosophy and just leave you all there, which is probably more cruel than just shooting at him. I don't know how the Falcon can destroy a fleet of Star Destroyers with its lasers anyway, but maybe with their shields down or something.
They were being very optimistic.
But I'll say at the end of the day, this comic has provided probably like 15 to 20 minutes of us just discussing it in this manner. So I think that's a pretty big feat, regardless of where you land on that. I think pretty much most people are going to be more on Lando's side. I mean, this is called Star Wars, not Star Peace. So, but I think a comic or a novel or any piece of media that can get you to have that, that nuanced of a conversation with other people, I think that's a win.
Well, let's put it in terms that from, I guess, what would be the previous stream, even though we did it a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Whereas the what was it, the Planet of Cadril, was that what it just called? I already forgot.
Yes.
Whereas that was like a total waste of everyone's time and clearly just made for a paycheck. This has thought and theory put into it, not just oh, I need to get this done because my deadline is Monday. It's
somebody had a vision. Yeah,
I have a vision, and I have an idea I want to articulate through the form of a story, and I will use Star Wars to do that, and I will do it in an interesting way. And even if you don't like it, if you say I don't like this, I think it's bad, for whatever reason, that to me instantly holds more value than just due date Monday. Got to get it done.
Yeah.
Got to make them. Let's make them kind of look like lizards. Like lizards.
Or make them chameleons. Even say so, right?
Yeah,
I agree.
Earth-like.
I agree 100%. Like this is definitely one of the most intriguing issues of the entire Marvel run to me. Yeah. It's not necessarily one of my favorite, but definitely makes you think, if nothing else.
I think that's what some of the best media does, right?
Absolutely.
It's not really silly in the way the pre-Empire issues came out. The only silly aspect, I guess, is Cody's Superman clothing, right? But maybe the way the way his species is. But Yoda's silly looking anyway. So I think you can get past some of that. I'm not sure about Lando crying. They kind of make he's crying for a reason, I guess. Yeah. But
it makes more sense in the original version.
Yeah.
I think this is like there are good things in the pre-Empire Marvel era. There's there was the what was it, the one where they have an ice machine, not an ice machine, but like a freeze ray or whatever.
Freeze ray, yeah.
That was fun. That was cute. But like this is the first time I'm like, oh yeah, this is a story worth revisiting, worth like having in the continuity.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's having other people, it's having other artists, and I don't just mean people that draw, I mean writers and people that have their own visions being allowed to play in George Lucas's sandbox. And I understand, I guess I probably also agree with Lucasfilm and what they've forced to happen. And I also understand why any artist is going to be upset when you have their vision be changed. In any aspect. But to be fair, he's working in somebody else's sandbox, so ultimately he has to be beholden to that. But right. They still allowed his opinions to come through. They may have very much forced it to be wrong. I think what I would have liked is a middle ground, because his version is definitely like, oh, he's right. And this version is definitely like, no, he's wrong. I think a nice thing would have been a nice little bit more of ambiguity to allow the readers to ultimately make that decision for themselves. I think that would have made this probably way better. Regardless,
I came away with the conclusion that they sort of did. I don't think it's necessarily trying to be all that didactic, if you will.
Yeah,
right.
I think
because you're not sure who to believe. Is it Lando or is it Cody? I mean, in one aspect, Lando was right because ultimately Cody and all his men died in the Imperial attack, but then like Lando sort of sees there is something to Cody's philosophy in the way it all ended, right? And
I'd
the way he leaves
70-30 in Lando's favor.
Yeah.
I think my big takeaway is that they should have let they should at least like communicate with J.M. DeMatteis,
Yeah.
and then had him stay on for more issues, because that would have been sick.
Yeah.
We probably would have got a really good run of issues. I don't know how many he would have done, but we probably could have got a few more good ones
Yes.
instead of
Yeah, this is really
Yeah.
the start, though, of artists being able to play in George Lucas's sandbox and actually create interesting things with pathos and meaning
Artists-
behind it.
artists able to play in the sandbox and have like a thing they want to do, and not just, hey, you've been contracted to make something.
Yeah.
Like KOTOR 2, that's trying to say something. That's trying to tell you something about the universe. Both this and that universe. But yes.
Now, in 2010, J.M. DeMatteis posted about this on his blog. And would you mind if I read this?
No, go
for
ahead.
it. It's very small for me, so I can't read it anyways.
Comic Book Resources has a regular feature that I always enjoy called Comic Book Legends Revealed, and in the current installment, they touch on an incident that happened very early in my career. It involves Star Wars, the birth of my son, and the value of pacifism. You can get the broad beats at CBR, but here's the whole story. It was 1980, and I was very new to comics. I'd written a number of stories for DC, mostly for their anthologies, and a few for Gold Key. I know them. But as I was just getting my foot in the door at Marvel, I'd scripted a couple of fill-ins for Editor-in-Chief Jim Shooter, an Iron Man story, a Doctor Strange, but nothing had made it to print yet. One day, I got a call from editor Louise Jones, she's Louise Simonson now, asking me if I wanted to write an issue of Marvel's Star Wars Monthly. I, of course, immediately said yes, because A, it was Marvel Comics, the house that Stan and Jack built, and B, I couldn't afford to turn down the work. I didn't bother to mention to Louise that I had zero interest in Star Wars. I'd seen the first film, liked it well enough, but just couldn't grok what all the fuss was about. But an opportunity is an opportunity, and a good story is a good story, no matter what fictional universe it's set in. So I got to work crafting a tale about Lando Calrissian and his encounter with a legendary rebel fighter of my own creation named Cody Sunchild. Note the name, please. Cody Sunchild. You see, my son Cody was born right around the time I got the assignment, and, he's my son and my child. So, okay, it wasn't the most brilliant name for a character, but it meant something to me. And so did the story. As noted, I was new to comics, but I'd been writing, and of course reading them long enough to know that the violent solutions presented in those magical, larger-than-life stories were often simplistic, and on occasion, maybe many occasions, stupid and harmful. I know we've gone over this ground before, talking about my IDW series The Life and Times of Savior 28, but this Star Wars story predates even the original glimmer of that idea. So I thought it would be an interesting touch to have Cody Sunchild, this great warrior that Lando Calrissian idolized, go through a spiritual transformation and become a pacifist. A man totally disgusted by violence, who was seeking a different way to live his life. In the end, although an attack by the Empire tempts Sunchild to return to his old ways, he decides that it's better to allow himself to be killed, to die for a dream of peace, than to go down fighting. His followers agree, and die by his side during the Empire's assault. A side note, a year or so before I'd written an issue of Gold Key's Buck Rogers that dealt with similar themes. That was an equally noble, but far clunkier take on the material, and I welcomed the chance to attempt the idea again in this new context. Keep in mind that I didn't belittle the Star Wars characters or their beliefs in any way. I was just presenting another point of view while keeping Lando Calrissian and company true to their roots. They had their views, Sunchild had his. Let the readers decide who, if anyone, was right. The Dreams of Cody Sunchild wasn't a brilliant piece of work by any means. It was better than the Buck Rogers version, but I was still too new and too raw a writer to do the idea justice. But I think it had something of value to say, and it was something I wanted to pass on to my newborn son, which is why I named that new character after him. Louise made some changes to my plot along the way. Actually, her overeager assistant editor, a curly-haired lad named Fingeroth, made the changes, and I've been giving the poor guy grief about it ever since. But nothing that altered the fundamental point of my story. The great Carmine Infantino drew the story. I wrote the final script. We were working Marvel style in those days. Plot, then art, then dialogue. Louise edited it, and the book went off to the Lucasfilm reps for approval. They weren't happy. Why? It seemed that, to them, the very idea that a character in the Star Wars universe would voice an opinion that in any way contradicted the Skywalker worldview was offensive. The word came down that Sunchild, in rejecting violence, made their characters look bad. In other words, their universe wasn't big enough to contain one single person with a point of view that suggested non-violence was a reasonable alternative to war. So much for my follow-up story about Princess Leia traveling through time to meet Martin Luther King and Gandhi. Louise had no choice. This was a high-profile license, and Marvel had to keep the Lucas people happy. New dialogue was written for the last page, not by me, and I'll never forget these lines that were added. He created a dream city where he could live in peace, Calrissian said, but he was wrong. Lofty ideals alone just aren't enough when dealing with the Empire, as he found out. No maybes about it. Cody Sunchild was an idiot who sacrificed his life for nothing. There were other lines added about letting the Empire's ships, which had been damaged, rot in other dimensional space. This, we were led to believe, would have made Sunchild happy. A moment while I banged my head against the wall for old time's sake. To me, the Lucas people were the ones who were wrong. So wrong, in fact, that I took my name off the story, replacing it with the admittedly and intentionally ridiculous nom de plume Wally Lombago. Looking back, I'm amazed that I did it. I was in no position to jeopardize my working relationship with Marvel, or with any publisher. I had a career to build, a new family to support, but I simply couldn't put my name on a story dedicated to my son that now meant exactly the opposite of what I intended. To her credit, Louise totally understood my position, and no one at Marvel ever gave me grief about it. In fact, not long afterwards, I signed an exclusive writing contract with the company, so clearly no harm was done. Of course, I never wrote another Star Wars story, but I really didn't mind.
Is that it? Yeah.
Not quite.
Okay, go ahead.
Then he wrote this one. A few weeks back, I shared the tale of the one and only Star Wars comic book I ever wrote, and the way my story of a born-again pacifist named Cody Sunchild was changed, maybe defaced would be a better word, by George Lucas's licensing lords. Well, the estimable Brian Cronin, whose column at Comic Book Resources inspired my reminiscence, has actually tracked down the original ending of the story. You can find it how right here. Turns out that the unaltered version of the story, with my name in the credits and the ending intact, appeared in England as part of a black and white Star Wars magazine. And now, thanks to Brian and one of his sharp-eyed readers, here's the pivotal last page. And here we have it. I don't know if you can...
It's a little bit small, but maybe you could point out the differences, Robert.
Right. Well, most of the... a lot of it's the same. Some things have been shuffled around, but through a haze of bewilderment and grief, Calrissian espies the now unmoving Imperial ships, and Lando says here, it's all their fault. I'll make them pay. I'll wipe those murderers from the sky. Chewbacca says something here, and some would call Chewbacca's language a farrago of indecipherable subguttural growls. Yet one growl is eloquent enough to make Lando Calrissian understand. And Lando says he wanted to die, to show us. To show us. And without firing a shot, the Millennium Falcon makes a sharp turn in the direction of the still yawning dimensional doorway. And the Imperial captain says, no, they're leaving. Come back. You cannot deny us the glory of it. You cannot deny us the glory of death. You cannot. But they can. Perhaps years from now, Captain Plick will understand just how much real glory she has been party to this day. And if not, then perhaps her children will. For the legend of Cody Sunchild has only begun. And that is the original ending.
Yeah. I'll just say, in my own opinion, I mean, you guys may disagree. I think him wanting to die sounds too close to like suicide. I don't think Lucasfilm would have necessarily wanted that
I think it is
in their
suicide.
comics.
Close.
So I can understand why they wanted it changed. I think it was a good decision to change it. I understand that that was not the author's intent, but Star Wars was probably not for him. He's a good writer, came up with a good story, but you have to be protective of how Star Wars, the principles of Star Wars, what Star Wars
and
is.
children read these.
Yes. So overall, I think it was a good decision. I understand his objections, but I think that's just the way it goes sometimes.
I think what I would say is I'm in agreement with Scott in the fact that this is in a franchise which has certain rules and obligations, and because of that, those are the right changes to make. But I think for the more powerful story, honestly, I think the original version is better in terms of the pathos behind that. Like Robert just now reading that, like I honestly wanted to be like Lando. Like I don't think I got teared up at all. I was like, whatever, it's another Marvel run when I read the original version. But listening to that, which might be the first time I've actually heard that, that's some good stuff. That may be better than most of the Marvel stuff we're gonna read, period. So
There's a reason that J.M.D. Mateus is like so celebrated. It's because he wrote really good stuff, including Craven's Last Hunt, which
well, now I'm going to read Craven's Last Hunt because that was great.
It's really good. I'm reading his Justice League International, which is not like deep. Well, I mean, sometimes it can be, but like it's more like
it's very funny.
It's very It's very funny. But yes, I think I tend to side with writers and creatives here. I do think that there probably should have been there. I think they could have worked out a better agreement than they ultimately did. Because I think you could have salvaged most of that. I think Scott's right. I think the one thing that they probably would have to change is he wanted to die.
Yeah.
But, I don't think that even does well for his original intent. Like I think that could be worded differently. Like if I was his editor, I would suggest that he change that part, regardless of how he wanted the story to be.
Even if he said like he accepted his death, as inevitable or something like that, like,
a sacrifice or an example or something. I don't know.
There's definitely a way that they could have worked it out, but
we got Droid World.
Droids! Oh, I can't wait for droids.
There's also a children's book or something titled Droid World, if I'm not mistaken.
Frank Miller, right here, this cover.
Really? Oh, yes, so it is.
And that C-3PO is the image of him on League of Comic Geeks, which I didn't realize until right now. I'm looking at it, I was like, oh, there he is.
This is our first Marvel story that was adapted to a book on tape specifically for children by Buena Vista Records. I think it's on YouTube. It's a very good narration.
If I find it, I'll leave a link.
Very good story. It was one of those things that said turn the page when you hear R2 beep, but
I like this guy in the back with the axe hands.
Oh yeah. That reminds me of the Genndy Tartakovsky series when they're fighting in the arena. You remember that?
Yes.
It looks like one of them.
So the story is the Rebel Alliance captured a damaged Imperial warbot, and it's a new model, and they want to find out more about it. So they go to the Kligson's moon. This guy, he's sort of like an expert on droids. He was a veteran of the Clone Wars, and only droids are allowed on Kligson's moon. So they send 3PO and R2 to bring the warbot there to reverse engineer that and discover all the secrets.
After they accidentally use the thing.
Right, yes. And the deal is Klixa gets to keep the warbot. The rebels only get the information derived from that. And then one of the droids on there happens to like run a rebellion the same time R2 and 3PO are there, and there's this big fight and they try to escape, and it's a whole ordeal. it's a good story. Specifically, adapts very well to a kid's storybook, I think. But there's not much here. Like, this is not an essential read by any means, but it does have some ramifications to later EU. The droid that rebels is ZX3, and he I think Abel Pena tied it into an early model of the Dark Trooper project.
That makes sense.
So yeah,
that is where my mind went when I looked at those panels.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool.
Although every time they spell his name phonetically, and every time I went, no, ZX3.
No. Nope. Nope. No, sir. That's not true.
Fado. Bavoom.
So
I quite like this, the title font.
Title?
Here.
Yeah, it's
It
fun.
looks like WWE.
Yeah, right. I was going to say the big W.
There's two versions of Kligson because he's such an expert in droids. He makes him think. He makes a droid substitute that makes the rebellious droid think that he died, but he actually didn't. So there's a couple twists and turns in this as we go through it, but I don't want to get too far out ahead of myself. So
I will say this issue didn't do much for me, but it is nice having a 3PO and R2 issue. It almost feels like an episode of the animated series.
Yeah. I'm a little bit. I don't really care for how they're drawn here.
Yeah,
R2 looks a little bit fat, as does C3PO. He's got like
yes.
Looks like he's
big hips.
Got on some pounds somehow, even though he can't eat food.
Got some hips. He's got a little bit of like, man boob going on here too.
And this is at the worst possible moment. He has to run.
Oh yeah, he's not doing that. He's dying. That character's not going to do that.
I'm not sure they necessarily needed the cold open.
No, the cold open isn't in the book on tape. They sort of rearrange the version of events a little bit just to get a more dramatic opening, I guess, for the comic, in case you're not taken in completely by the cover. But a lot of fire, a lot of menacing stuff going on, and
you get the obligatory 8080 editor's note.
Yes. Because why not? So Luke explains how they got the Imperial Warbot, and they decide they try to work on it themselves, but it's too risky, and they decide to bring it to this droid expert from the Clone Wars on Droid World.
It sort of looks like a giant R2 with a gun nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big turret style droid, yeah.
So, yes.
So this droid world is a space station. It's not really a planet. I don't know what shape it is. It's depicted on the next page there. It's like a conglomeration of a lot of different materials.
I do like how they're assigned to study this thing, and then they mess it up, and 3PO is very apologetic about it, and goes, "Oh, Master Luke will do anything to make up for this."
And I like Luke's outfit in this because it looks a lot like what his niece and nephew will wear. So,
which kind of looks like what he wore on Bespin.
Mm.
Right.
It might actually be that same outfit.
I think it's Jason and Jaina wear Luke's clothes rather than the opposite, but yeah.
I'm not quite sure why the burnt out droid is now oozing purple.
That's supposed to be melted metal.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Kind of looks like the what General Grievous is made of, or not General Grievous, Dirge.
Yeah.
Like
Dirge, yeah. He's just a collection of worms.
Yep.
That's gross.
Which is actually When did that comic? That comic was like 2004, 2005.
That was a micro
2000
series. That was a TV show.
When was well?
That was
Okay, when was the
2003.
micro
It was
series?
it was 2003, regardless. I think.
Yeah.
Okay, because Halo Combat Evolved came out in 2001, and there's an enemy type that is just a collection of worms. So I'm just saying.
Could be.
I'm just saying.
Why has this guy got bolts running throughout? Why did they bolt him down? That don't look right.
Oh, this guy Kligson.
They don't look at how he's got like bolts going through his armor, but that's really not like a Star Wars design language is bolts. So he looks like a medieval character or something. Not even medieval, but like
He's a
Right.
cyborg.
like steampunk, like
They're
sci-fi.
overemphasizing the droid aspect. So he's dressed as a droid, right? Why wouldn't he be?
Yeah.
He's a
That's,
cyborg.
Is he a cyborg? I don't know.
He says right there, I'm a cyborg.
He,
Oh, there's a cyborg.
yes, he is. But there is a copy of him that I don't know if this is.
That's the
know if this
droid
is the-
version. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if the original one is. So this one dies. He's killed by the rebelling droid, but
Yeah. He made a decoy.
Right.
Because there's ZX3.
yeah, he's the early model Dark Trooper droid. Why he gets into droid world, I don't know if he's undercover on a mission from the Empire. I don't know. Check out Abel G. Pena's story for the backstory here. But
Yeah.
Bring these two to me, ZX3.
ZX3.
for American viewers, yeah. And this
The
kind of
Canadians
goes
agree with me.
right. These kind of goes along very similar to the book on tape.
Oh, and this I like. I am an experimental model designed by Tag Industries.
Spells tag wrong. I don't know if it's corrected
Yeah.
on that version, but on the original version, I think it only is one G.
I would. I like the idea that the droid just can't spell, or doesn't know how to say it properly. I think that's
You
just
could
funny.
you could say that. You could say that. Should you say
What
that?
he's saying is he's not spelling anything, so he could just be pronouncing it wrong.
To ag. Could be.
Yeah, there you go. I like that.
Like when Prince Shizo's chair keeps saying his name wrong.
Mm.
So they can tell you how to pronounce it on the page and not just like, let you be wrong.
Right. So Z3's plan is to use the Warbot parts to create his own droid army and assist him in his rebellion against Kligson. Kligson has this decoy ready, so when they plot against him and kill him, they kill the droid, not him.
I like this droid that has the blaster cannon that comes out of his chest.
It's like
That is-
Bollocks and Blue Max, but it's a gun.
It's like bollocks and gun.
Bollocks and gun, yeah. Bollocks and Glock.
There's another one you can't say, Robert. You're just getting boxed out all these words.
Yep.
And then at the end, they move Droid World to a more secret location. There's a big fight. And
Boom.
That seems like a little excessive.
Damn.
a lot of droids
So-
lose their faculties.
This panel. C-3PO keeps getting things plugged into weird places.
Yeah, I don't like
Let
it.
the man live.
Yeah,
Okay.
don't like that.
We all know what he does with R2 when we're not looking. They're a married couple. It's okay. We can admit it.
That's
It's
true.
okay.
That's fair. That's
I don't think so, Alex. I'm sternly against that
Have
idea.
you listened to C-3PO? Bro
Yes, I
argues like
have.
a 70-year-old like wife. Okay? I'm just saying.
Well,
I kind of am bothered by how easily C-3PO was willing to give up in Empire Strikes Back. I don't know if we talked about that in that episode, but rewatching the movie, I was like, damn, he was ready to sell him out. Boom, on the dot, on the dime. He was really like,
Hey, well, I mean, it's always been a consistent thing that he fears dying. So
Yeah,
we
he's
have
like,
that
they
at
won't
least.
kill me. You flesh puppets. They'll do something to you.
You meat bags. He turns
Yeah.
into HK-47.
Wait,
Oh,
is that a gonk droid with a gun?
That's amazing. I want more
Might be.
gun droids with guns.
highly modified. The droid with arms that's like suspended in
Look.
midair. That's the droid from the Droids cartoon series.
Really? Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, these are
Gonk droid with a gun. Skippy with a gun.
Yes, it's perfect. More of
I
these.
am a sucker for weird one-off droid designs. Like, I'm not even kidding. My favorite part of the Droids cartoon was Boba Fett's protocol droid. That's not like me being cute. Literally, the number one thing I liked from that show was his droid. I was like, that is sick. I want one of those. I want an action figure of that. Easily
fair.
entertained. Very easily entertained.
Alex, what's the name of that robot from Power Rangers?
The one that goes
Alpha-
yeah,
Alpha 5.
Alpha
Yes.
5, yeah.
That's what this one reminds me of.
Yeah.
And we got a weird
It's time to
sphinx-looking thing.
conquer Earth.
Yeah, these are fun.
Recruit a bunch of teenagers with attitude.
Chest cannons for everyone.
Yes. The more chest cannons, the better.
They're all Warpath. Bang!
It's like
pow!
it's like Dr. Evil when he goes, "Get me a bunch of sharks with lasers attached to their freaking heads." Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is sick.
Elite reference.
See, we're on the upswing. We're on the upswing. You know, I'm loving this. I kind of hate droid stories a little bit, just like that much. I hate droid stories. But this one's not bad. This one's okay. I like this one. This one's fun. I get to see a bunch
Droids
of cool
lover, Ewok denier. Okay.
Nah. Exact opposite. I gotta have me Ewoks. I gotta have me Ewoks. Droids.
I wore the wrong
You're
shirt
just
today. I
racist
should have
like
wore
your mom. It's
wore the
okay.
droid shirt, not the Ewok shirt. But anyway.
I need both. I need a droids and an Ewok shirt.
But yeah, there's not much in the rest of this. We see some droids getting melted down. Artwork's very good. Like the story's pretty
Fun.
decent, but it's not essential.
Yeah. We see
It's fun.
Cligson
If you like droids, if you
save them and go, yes, I'm alive. That was a decoy that ZX3 destroyed earlier. Now let's fight back using my Imperial war droid.
ZX3.
And they do. And we get this page.
It's pretty nice. Pretty epic. They saw this comic and were like, let's make an entire show around this. Just C-3PO and R2-D2.
I'm okay with that.
And we get sad Cligson and Luke wearing something new for a change.
Well, sort of.
It's like you droids did a great job. You guys get a raise.
Yes. And Droid World flies off
Third
somewhere
law.
else.
The
Right,
first time I
I've-
saw this, I've been going through a fantasy series, very famous on BookTube, called the First Law series by Joe Abercrombie, who writes very much like Joss Whedon in his books with his like snappy banter. So that's the first thing I thought of when I saw the title for this, because I haven't read this in like 2 years. So
I'll say this is my favorite Star Wars Marvel comic.
please explain why. I would really love to know.
I very much like it because it my personal opinion is this takes chronologically before A New Hope, where Leia's a known rebel entity, and kind of Vader knows that, but it isn't officially known. It's just like something they know between themselves, right? So the whole banter of like, you're part of a rebel alliance and a traitor, like, yeah, that's obvious. But they know that already because they've ran into each other on multiple occasions. Like Leia's killed Lord Tyon. She has this whole history. Her father has a history of supporting the Rebel Alliance, and there's this the silly the story itself is kind of silly in a lot of ways. They have the sacred balance. There's this banking planet that doesn't allow weapons. It has this very complicated, well, maybe not so complicated, but unique set of rules allowing weapons on the planet. And you have Vader with his porter, with his I forget, he has these 3 aliens with him, and it doesn't have stormtroopers. Yeah, porter, secretary, valet.
There you go.
They all have
Dracula.
they all have like
Dracula, yeah.
Love Dracula.
these unique powers, and they try to foil Leia's plot, but then Leia foils the foil, and then Vader foils the foil of the foil. It's just kind of it's over the top, but I still think it's believable in Star Wars. It's not the silliest story, especially some of the stuff we've gone over so far. I just like it a lot. I like this version of Leia. She's like witty and snappy, and Vader, although he does get kind of shown up at points in this story, at the end he goes after the crown jewels of Alderaan. He's like, that's what he was after to begin with. I don't know. I was entertained by it. I like it a lot, just for my own reasons.
There's a
That's fine.
there's a so the only reason this issue has like any particular like importance in my mind is Comic Tropes here on YouTube did a video on this. This was
Right.
his episode on the Star Wars Marvel comics. And so he just did like a page by page breakdown of this issue. That's the only reason that I have like any sort of fondness for this issue. When I first read it, I was like, okay, there it is. And then I moved on.
What was his impression? Did he rip it apart, or did?
Yeah, pretty much.
you like-
It was like,
okay.
it was like, yeah, it was
Okay.
like, it was like,
It's not really what you would expect from Star Wars, but
No.
it's an interesting take, similar to Cody Sunchild. I think it's very intriguing. Gives you a lot of backstory on this banking planet Argyle, which shows up later on. So I think
Yes.
it does have redeeming qualities about it.
I think he was a bit harsh, mostly
Yeah.
for like, comedic effect, but
Right.
that's pretty much
I don't think this is a horrible story by any means, but
I think
I
it's fine.
think just based on I'm trying to think of like the things that I like typically are the things that I like really love, which are typically the things that make me think, which is why I would typically prefer Cody Sunchild's story to this one. But that's not to say that this one's bad, by any means. But it's kind of like when I try to read like Malazan Book of the Fallen versus the Wheel of Time, and one of them is like, man, my heart, oh, my brain, oh, good times, and then the other one's like, it's the Wheel of Time. And everybody loves it because it's the Wheel of Time, but it's just okay. And this to me was a very solid Marvel. It's more of what I expect, but a little bit better from the Marvel comics, as opposed to Cody Sunchild kind of surprising me.
I think it would benefit a lot if somebody took the time, and now there's nobody to do so and no interest in doing it. But if somebody took the time to go and say, this does take place before New Hope, even if it's like a few months before.
I think most timelines have it in the wrong spot, and I think most people, when they read this, they read it thinking it's like between A New Hope and Empire, even though this came out after Empire came out.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, when they approach it, they read it thinking the wrong thing. It takes place, and it doesn't make sense for that purpose, because if you read it like that, Leia is obviously acting all wrong, but I think it does make sense if you just say it's before A New Hope.
That's fair. Also, we talk about that Tales comic. She liked to throw water balloons at Tarkin.
Yep, I love Star Wars Tales. That's one of the better ones too. That's one of the better like funny ones, which is it's not even like that it's bad. It's just like, wow, that's the standard we're up to.
Yeah.
Man, are you excited? Are you not to?
I'm actually really excited because I know there's like going through all of them. There's always like one in all, like there's like 15 of them. There's one in every single one that's like actually either decent, some of them actually pretty good, which would make a solid one issue comic. but we have to shift through 15 issues to get like basically one good comic. It's gonna be great.
I think the best one for me is Unseen Unheard, and it's 4 pages long.
Yeah. Oh, is that the KOTOR 2 one?
Yes, of course.
And there's like no dialogue. It's just the
there's dialogue. There's well, it's not. No, you're right. There's no dialogue. It's all narration. Never mind.
There's we're getting off topic, but there's the Dark Woman, which is a continuation of the Republic stuff that is in Tales, and I think that one's really good. There's some decent Mara stuff too. We'll get to that in 1,000 years. So.
I'm not looking forward to that because I only have the Epic collections. I don't know how I'm going to read those stupid things. They're all like split up across multiple books. I'm not going to have a fun time. Anyway,
I can help you with that.
No, we're suffering here, man.
He's like, no,
Preamble aside, let's get to the artwork in this comic.
Yes, I like the Bank of Argyle as a concept, and of course, we later see that in the wider EU.
You do.
So
yes, the Sacred Balance.
So this issue is written by Larry Hama. What can you tell us about him, Al?
He is most famous for G.I. Joe, which he still writes to this day. Now so it went from Marvel to IDW to Skybound now, and he's written over 300 some issues of G.I. Joe, and that is easily the thing he's most famous for. He also wrote a lot of Wolverine, which I'm told is like some pretty good Wolverine, but I don't like that late of 90s X-Men. That's a little bit too bad for me.
90s X-Men or Ultimate X-Men?
90s X-Men, and I'm talking like I'm talking about 1995, 6 when they're doing like Onslaught and they're doing like a bunch of dumb things, and it's all characters I don't care about.
I just had to say that to get you
to. And then he did a few issues of Batman where he created Orca, who is a big woman, like orca woman with huge orca boobs, and that is the extent of
and she goes,
his
Orca!
creation.
No, I'm just kidding.
I wish. And I think she's now a Nightwing villain, which is okay. And that's it. That's Larry Hama. So I hope everyone got some out of that.
Well, Leia's drawn very similar to the orca in question previously mentioned. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, I like. No, it's supposed to be the.
I forgot. It's been a while since I read this.
He's helping Leia do the loan, and he's died a couple months prior, and this guy's a droid, but he's integral to the process of obtaining a loan for the Bank of Argyle. Should probably look up his name. I have it open.
Viscount Tardy.
Yes. So there's at one point Leia mentioned when at the end of the story, I'm kind of jumping ahead, where he died 2 months ago. Only her and his doctor, Commander Willard of the Rebel Alliance, knew. Is Bandit Willard a doctor? I don't know. There's a weird reference to that. He's not only a doctor, but he's Viscount Tardy's personal doctor, which I thought was weird. Kind of gets into the silliness of this comic. This planet Argyle, they worship money, right? The sacred balance. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but I think it's interesting. And they find out, okay, when they get to the planet, they're not allowed weapons. For visitors, the citizens are required to keep weapons. They can't smuggle any of the treasure off planet. Everybody gets scanned. There's this one guy who replaces his ribs with gold or something, and he tries to explain it, run away, and get shot. We see Vader and his whole crew of weird people. I think it's very funny. He's got like Count Chocula and a whole bunch of other people on there. But I like the whole vibe of this planet. It's kind of like Coruscant, but they worship money.
I think it's funny. I like it.
I also like that in this panel right here, Leia kind of looks like Angelina Jolie.
A little bit. It looks like Tomb Raider Angelina Jolie.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
I don't like how R2 is like kind of like stretched there.
Yeah, he's also like black again. So like,
Yeah, it's like they were filming in space. You know how in the original version when they went into space, the blue would be black. You remember that? Anybody remember that?
So-
Am I going insane?
no,
I
I
think
know what you're talking
Okay,
about.
it's, Ghostfish is mentioning this might be something from Switzerland because it's a banking country and it's neutral. Argo is neutral, so there's a little bit of a similarity there. I can see that maybe. Anyway, scroll ahead, Robert.
Not as cool of a
We'll go
banking
through
clan
this.
though as the Muns.
Yeah,
You
Moonalist
got the
is
long heads.
They do
cool
go
as
on,
well.
They didn't exist yet. So, do you
Can
think they
move on
got
to
beef at this place?
yeah.
There's
I
another
mean, they're
banking-
they're they're an enemy banking planet, right?
Yeah. So
Argo is
some-
probably with the Republic. If Moonalist is with the Confederacy,
well, what's the difference now? It would be like reverse.
and then you have Scipio from the Clone Wars, which throws a wrench in this whole situation. So,
Oh, no. I forgot
Well,
that was a
luckily,
thing.
luckily, I don't accept the existence of any Clone Wars that isn't from like 2002 to 2008. So,
there you go.
all right, moving on.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next page, please, Robert, if you would.
Oh, Ghostfish says they were allied. They split during the war.
And that's neat. That's neat. I think we may have lost Robert.
Argo does show up in the Young Boba Fett series.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
I
with
forgot
RSA. Their little ordeal there. Let me see if I have my notes. So Vader's assassins, like his porter, which is that big green guy, actually tries to sneak aboard Leia's speeder. I think it's in the very next page to what we have on the screen there. Leia, she's not allowed any weapons, but she has this gravity device that basically makes him fall through the face of the planet. And you can see there's this hole in the ground at the end because he basically she turned on the gravity to him specifically, and Vader sees this and is like, Leia has a weapon, arrest her. And Leia's like, no, it's just a gravity device or whatever. And your porter can climb up the hole that I put him in. It'll just take him a long time. It's kind of a joke. I thought it was kind of funny. And that's the first of like Vader's minions that dies, and then they go one by one after the group. And I think Vader kills Viscount Tardy at the end, but it turns out to be a droid. And Leia reveals that, oh, he actually died 2 months prior. Only me and Commander Willard were aware of that, but he was integral to the process of getting loans for X-Wing, which is the whole reason Leia is on the planet, to get a loan for an X-Wing squadron, which is also kind of funny. How does the rebels like finance their operation? There has to be some banking element that it isn't really discussed outside of this comic. And then there's the crown jewels of Alderaan. We know Leia's also very wealthy, and she uses the crown jewels of Alderaan as collateral for the transaction. And Vader actually steals it. He's there to steal the crown jewels, not really to arrest Leia, not any of that, not really to disrupt the whole loan process, but he gets away with what he wants. Leia gets the loan for the X-Wings, and Vader has a funny line at the end. He says, don't mention this whole ordeal to the authorities of Argao. It'll do evil things for your credit rating, which
That is good. That's funny.
That's pretty good.
But yeah, I like the comic a lot. I think it explores something that's not really explored much in the EU, the way of financing, the way of how the rebellion works, Leia's wealth, a lot of these elements.
Well, for sure. I love the. I enjoy whenever the EU expands anything in the lore. So it's definitely good. I am surprised that it's like your favorite of Marvel, like, period. But I agree, it's a good addition to the world.
If I were to pick one, I just like all of Vader's henchlings that kind of show up that never show up in any other story, and
That is fun.
it's just over the top and kind of silly, but still believable in a way that's not completely out there. It looks like we got Robert back.
Do we?
Maybe, I don't know. Somebody's
I don't know. I
sharing.
texted them on Discord and
Did you screen share, Alex?
oh, I did this. Sorry,
Okay.
yeah, I did this.
No,
Okay.
okay. All right.
Sorry.
So any other thoughts on this last comic?
I thought it was decent. We are starting to, and now I remember we're starting to enter the period where like the Star Wars comic gets pretty decent. There's another like dip around the time that they meet the frog people or whatever they are,
Yeah.
where it's like the worst thing ever, and I hate it, and I can't wait till we get there because I'm gonna bitch nonstop. But like until we get there, like it's pretty good. Like we're reading, it's like, oh, this is not bad, and then it dips, then it goes back up because you have Lumaya. Yes.
Yeah.
Once she enters the equation,
It's kind of
the
smooth
series gets
sailing
good.
all the way.
Yeah, but
Until
then,
after
but then
episode 6, and then it's a
then
little.
they
I mean, it's
then
still
they get rid of
fun.
her. Then they get rid of her.
Yeah.
They introduce fish people, and there are the tanks. Funny enough, it
Right,
gets
yeah.
real bad. Then we get another. She comes back, and then the run gets good again. So
You get more of a continuing story arc that aren't just one shots. Like even in these episodes that we've covered today, these single issues, they're kind of one shots. But then post Empire Strikes Back, when we get to the Shira Bree arc, it's one overarching story that gets us all the way to the end. You know, post Return of the Jedi, where Shira Bree turns into Lumaya and all that. So it does get good. We get more of a continuing story that is a continuity in and of itself and not just single issues, that this is sort of like meant to fit together in a way we haven't seen before.
Yeah. I still haven't heard anything from Robert, so
Okay.
but I figured I could probably get this to a nice 2-hour perfect equal number, so it probably won't take that long, so it probably won't be 2 hours. But I have a chapter from Supernatural Encounters that specifically deals with Cody Sunchild and all that. I don't know if I'm going to read every single bit of this. I'm probably going to hop around, but I thought it'd be interesting just to look at it real quick and go over it. So, and I don't remember most of it, so I had to ask people for help on Discord because I didn't even remember the chapter it was on. The Kingdom of Dreams should have been a good like hint, but I just couldn't figure it out. So
every time I try to find something and I can't, it's always like the most obvious title ever, and I just like, oh, there it is.
Yeah. So no easy thing is to remember that the Sith were not always evil, and that they had once been a noble race of artisans and builders. Nor had the Euthros bloodline all become tainted by depravity. Benevolence still ran through the Tithans in Muist, the latter of whom had escaped, I can't pronounce that, from Midrius and Ventuine long before. Blah, 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 blah. The Guardians of the Flame engineered a race of beings from the rocks and called them the Cavis, though they are known by the rather disparaging name of cavern monsters. We keep going down. I would need to find there's his name. Okay. Cody Sunchild was among the very few to have gotten past the Cavis without even trying. While engaging in a battle against Grand Inquisitor Hydra and a battalion of Shadow Stormtroopers, Sunchild was shot multiple times and fell, near upon death, into an unseen fissure that led down to the Sanctum of the Flame. No ordinary flame was this that Sunchild had fallen upon, but the holy fane of the Eternal, wherein the Must kept a sacred fire ever burning. The so-called enemy of the Empire should have been immolated? Yeah. But the prelates who came whispering excitedly knew this was no accident. These are the Guardians of the Flame, who were made up of the 12 priestly rulers of the Must. They sent Prelate 1, blah, 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 blah. When after several days Sunchild regained consciousness, Prelate Tresk told him all that had transpired, including his miraculous survival in the Sanctum of the Flame. Among his many questions, Sunchild inquired as to who they were. The prelates introduced themselves and urged him to patiently recover before conversing at length, as sleep was crucial, while good food and rest would take care of the rest. When finally they spoke again, Sunchild was vexed by all he had heard, suspecting he'd been taken in by some bizarre cult. This was precipitated by their claim to have been alive for millennia. He was also indignant at their pacifistic stance. He had little patience for delusions, even less for those who would not fight their own battles. Also, he suspected there was something they weren't telling him. Still, they had saved his life, and he felt honor bound to offer them his aid against the Empire. To his annoyance, they refused his protection and instead said that if he really wanted to assist them, he might make a spiritual sacrifice toward the establishment of peace. In you, Prelate Teresk explained, child of the sun, we have glimpsed a mystic spark that might yet be ignited in fulfillment of the prophecy of the flame. Seeing as he was bewildered, Prelate Umbolo explained, it is the time when the children of light arise to defeat the children of darkness and usher in a new galaxy. As Sunchild still seemed bemused, Prelate Brainer added, it is for this very reason that the flame spared you. At this, Cody Sunchild laughed gustily. Gratitude was one thing, but only took him so far, and scorn was the only response he could make to such mumbo-jumbo. I don't like that human phrase being in here. I just, like real life. Anyway,
I'm back.
the prelates smiled patiently and said he might come to understand in time. It had been the talent of the youth rose to shape worlds of great beauty, and many had they shaped before the umbra of iniquity swallowed them. Some surmised that this is why they had been chosen long ago by the Dark Ones, to turn builders into destroyers. The supernal powers of the must were yet intact, for they had not succumbed to the darkness and warily remained vigilant. Now with the galactic civil war thundering on the shores, many believed the prophecy's fulfillment had drawn near. The must had not expected Sunchild to concede right away, for they knew that the cultural mores of the galaxy filtered through the dark powers were clouded. Oftentimes that which was desolate and false was celebrated, while that which was virtuous and true was disparaged. Many lengthy conversations and debates followed while Sunchild coalesced, often ending with the exasperated warrior storming off to the small but comfortable chamber they had prepared for him. You wouldn't be here if warriors didn't fight for you, Sunchild snapped during the most recent debate. We required no warriors in our long years. So you're content to just let evil take over while you hide underground. You cannot put out a fire by adding more fire. Sunchild took a deep breath. This was going nowhere. You must realize that without us, tyrants would rule the galaxy. What happens when your side wins? Well, a good government is put in place, a just one. Perhaps at the start, this is true, but has not history shown us that this state does not long last? Soon enough, your good government turns corrupt, justice vanishes, and tyranny returns. And the violence that once drove out the old tyrants is now employed to keep the new ones in power. We have seen this played out time and again for millennia. Your way only adds suffering and death to the gaps in between. It annoyed him that they always seemed to have a calm answer to his pragmatic and ironclad arguments. Though cunning in the boardroom and brilliant on the field of battle, Sunchild was not what he considered a deep thinker. My philosophy, he had said several times, is that a philosophy for those who do not act, or is that philosophy is for those who do not act. He realized that what rankled him the most was that there was a kernel of truth to the naive pacifism that they preached. The teaching of the must were not just intellectual anathema to Sunchild, they challenged his very being. But were he to acknowledge that veracity, it would mean that he'd been a monster for most of his life and not the hero he was regarded as. The battle of wits could not go on. He would not allow this honor to be undermined by the fallacies of credulous Cenobites. He now marched back to the chamber of Ecclesia, where he just stormed out, past the placid Cavis. The prelate said that they understood, and though they would miss their discussions, they would respect his wishes. Sunchild walked away even more irritated at their willingness to concede, but mad at himself for being such a coward. Time passed, and Cody Sunchild began to suspect that their healing salves were keeping him in an unhealed state, perhaps so that they could hold on to their savior. So he began refusing any ministrations, save for the copious and hardy plants, fungi, and herbs they provided as food. At least they can cook. It's a joke.
They gave him copious amounts too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm trying to get down a bit more. Wayback strength. Sunchild was impressed as well by the structure of their civilization. Food grew in abundance, which they credited to the supernal flame. Not the one he fell upon, but an artificial sun that provided the world light and heat. Work days were relatively short. Food minders tended the taproots tuberous roots, and other plants and fungi, which made up the bulk of their diet. There's several types of, I don't know, all this stuff just feels like the Bible. Hold on. Like, like Leviticus and all this stuff. Needless to say, the Sunchild was amazed to hear laughter at the suggestion that their people were anything other than freeborn. And clear but halting basic, Barbix said, "My people and the must are as one. We are fond of them as they are of us. Without them, we would not be alive. But it is for this mutual love that we remain and help where we can." I'm gonna keep going a bit. I don't want to read this whole thing. I understand it's a bit removed from the more sophisticated arrangements played in the galaxy today, but I hope you enjoyed it. I was never a great lover of music, Sunchild admitted, though my mother was. That one was a popular arrangement from the Neutron Group. I'm trying to make sure everything I read is important here. There's a lot here. You can definitely read the chapter yourself. It is chapter 82.
Is that one that's been adapted to audiobook yet?
I'm not sure about that. This seems like something of actual substance. Hold on. Okay. I do. I'm curious about something. Have you always lived this way? And I don't mean on the ground, but as peacefully as you do. I've traveled quite extensively, but I've never seen anything like this. Teresk looked at his companions who nodded, inviting him to sit with them. They began to tell him the story of their past on Droman Kos, which they had not previously revealed to him. Sunchild listened in utter amazement. Yen expected that these people, who could not be more culturally dissimilar from the Sith, were of the same original race. It was unimaginable. Seductive as Sith rhetoric is, it also proves to be a denial of reality on every level. It advocates that anger, frustration, and struggle fuel empowerment, but that is a lie. Biologically, spiritually, and psychologically, it merely hastens corruption and death. What are Sith worlds but places of misery and decay? The inclination towards self-aggrandizement, violence, and paranoia cannot help but to be a recipe for failure and self-destruction. Only in their propaganda is that not the case. Sith leadership requires a misled and angry populace that blames others, like the Jedi, for their ills. The Jedi of old kept their identity in death as they became one with the eternal force. The Sith seek to prevent such a thing, considering oneness to mean the dissolution of self, which makes them fragile in ways Jedi are not. Desperately, they struggle to extend their lives in the physical plane, and to that end, employ a macabre combination of science and magic to keep animate their corpses. Bind their spirits to physical objects or transport them to other living vessels, all forms of demonic necromancy contingent on the temporal. The so-called immortality that they dangle is a lore built on ancient serpentine sorcery that exists for the very few who have traded life for a bizarre, monstrous kind of unlife. The entire crux of their belief system falls apart when one sees that the greatest of their achievements is to be as tortured, predacious specters. Well, here's where I have a theological problem. If this cosmic force that you speak of is true, why doesn't it utterly reject them? It is more complex than that. The living force is generated by living beings, but designed by the cosmic force to partner with them and obey their commands. When the galaxy was in harmony with the will of the cosmic force, life and joy abounded, but the grieving came, and the galaxy turned to fear, anger, hate, and so the living force suffered as did the galaxy. As part of its corruption came from that anti-force, where the force binds the anti-force on mores and imbalances, but that is because it too is weak. Like its unholy masters, its powers gained through theft, through the suffering of billions, for their fear, anger, and hate feeds it. Yet the living force is as vast as the cosmic seas, and despite its wounding and weakening, it yet maintains great power. So it is that the force can be said to have a light and dark side, but that it is not its natural or original state, nor is it the will of the Father of Lights. But since this is what it has become, so must its users choose to abjure the taint, corruption, and self-aggrandizing will, recognizing that in the power of the dark side, which hinges on negative states, there's no real strength, only the illusion of it foisted by the weak and wicked in their displays of rule and ruin. All the more reason to fight the Empire, who was led by a Sith Lord. Well, that is very much our intent. You spent all this time trying to convince me of the rightness of pacifism, and now you say you want to fight? There are other ways besides violence in which to fight. Look at the galaxy today. Is there anything sadder or more contemptible? What cruelty there is, what blindness, what apathy and greed. Confounded creatures colliding recklessly against each other, driven by an orgy of brutality and self-indulgence. Your blasters and ships cannot stop this, but the time is coming when this madness will spend itself, when lust for power and wealth will perish by its own sword, devouring all in its swath. And so it will take a warrior to show the futility of war. For the galaxy will look for a better way. It is our belief that they would find it with you. Why with me? I'm not a believer in any of this. There's no more we can tell you. But obviously later on, Cody Sunchild will completely believe in what they're talking about.
Yeah, so the backstory on how he was convinced by that philosophy.
Yeah, a whole lot of philosophical discussion there.
The thing, as I was like browsing through this the first time, it kind of struck me is like I got confused where the narrator was talking and where the natives were talking. Like there's not really a point of delineation that at least was clear enough to me as I was reading this. Like you really have to pay attention to figure that out. And that's where it kind of lost me. Like I really like the backstory, the way that this story that is alluded to in the comic is explained, and we tell you what it tells you what's going on. But it's almost too much. It's like, okay, there's a narrative portion, and then there's the actual discussion between Cody Sunchild and the natives. I'm not sure I need both. One or the other will do, right?
And then the final page, if you want to read the whole thing, like I said, it's chapter 82. You can go on StarWarsTimeline.net. You can read it for free. Just download it like I have it here and read it. But the final page, Cody Sunchild did not fully understand, but he got the Sunchild's next task was at hand. He appeared before his old friend. I'm just going to... Okay. So Lando Calrissian discovered the Kingdom of Dreams at this time and tried to warn his old hero. But as he had been told in his own account, he remained skeptical and incensed at this unrecognizable person who refused to take up arms against his adversaries. It was only at the end, as Sunchild gave into his negative emotions, that the creature came forth as pretended. But even in this, Sunchild proved his integrity, laying down his life for the cause of peace. At last, Calrissian comprehended all that he had accomplished, how his corporeal dream was no mere fantasy of the mind of withdrawal from reality, but a physical and metaphysical manifestation of the state of mind that would come to encompass the entire galaxy for those who would set aside their hate. Though some would scoff, Calrissian would go on to tell everyone he knew of the great Cody Sunchild and his wondrous kingdom of dreams. And so the dreams of Sunchild spread, sparking hope in the hearts of many. In this way, the prophecy of the flame served as a precedent and archetype for the prophecy of restoration, the promise of that other dimensional kingdom that would be the cornerstone and pattern of the new universe to come, wherein Cody, arrayed in borrowed gold and blah, 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 awaits at the aperture to greet all who arrive. So what I appreciate about that is it basically, obviously, UK doesn't have this problem, but for the American audiences, it is a way to basically go, yep, they changed what the author intended. This is kind of a way to synergize it and make it still kind of fits more, obviously, with the version that most people have. Mm-hmm. But there's that last couple of paragraphs is a way to kind of make amends for that change for the author. So
yeah, and Lando, his final conclusion, especially after reading that, it really solidifies his original like claim to Cody Sunchild in saying that like you're acting as a messianic character and a messianic figure in your own,
because people kept telling him he was
galaxy. And at the end, after reading what you just read, Alex, he comes to that conclusion. He not only comes to that conclusion himself, he tells others about Cody Sunchild and the universe he created, and that's something we should strive to do in the regular universe, right? The regular dimension. Kind of interesting. I don't know if I agree with it. Like Lando's become a religious follower of Cody Sunchild, which is kind of funny.
I don't think Lando became a religious follower. I think he just shared that story around often about like the ideal.
That's basically what it says, though, right? You know,
I guess
what we should all strive to
sure.
To
it is definitely Joe is definitely not holding back that he is probably in agreement with the author of the story originally. He's very much
yeah,
shoving that.
Yeah,
But
that's fine.
that is fair. But interesting nonetheless. Thought I'd share. I don't know what happened to Robert. Hopefully he's okay.
Sorry,
I texted him.
He's
Oh,
back.
here?
I came back. I
had to step
had to
away.
leave for a bit while you were talking about the third law. I came back while Alex was reading. I didn't want to interrupt.
No,
Okay, I appreciate
it's fine. I just had to explain the rest of the story without going through the slides of visually how it looked, but it's cool. Okay. Did you have any final thoughts, Robert, on the third law?
Yeah, that was from this episode for issue 46, HoloNet.
Did you like it?
Not
Did you not like it?
really. I do like the various ways in which they disposes of Vader's lackeys. The like the
Yeah,
panel
I
where
like that too with the gravity
panel where
thing.
you see the fact that the guy has gone straight through the Earth into the planet core.
He not only fell out of the speeder, he fell on the ground through the planet core, and then Leia mentions to Vader, like, "Don't worry, he'll climb out of there eventually."
I don't think you know how far that is, Leia. I don't think you quite understand, but real Wile E. Coyote hours.
And then she kills the shapeshifter while he's turned into a butterfly and goes, "Oh, how terribly clumsy of me."
Yep. Steps on him or something.
And then the guy who accidentally blows himself up.
Yeah. There's some great moments in that. I like it, no matter what you say.
Does that mean R2 killed a person?
I think R2 killed a lot of people. Yeah, he set forth the galaxy gun, right? To fire on Biss. He killed everybody on Biss, as far as I'm concerned.
Wow.
He's got the highest kill count of any main Star Wars character,
except for Luke. Yeah.
Well.
But yeah.
So good
stuff.
Did you comment on the fact that Leia here says C-3PO and R2-D2's names in front of Vader?
It's a good point.
Previous owner.
Well, to be fair. Oh no, never mind. That this because this takes place before episode 4, so never mind. I was gonna say one of the good Tales comics has it's during episode 5 after C-3PO gets all broken up. Vader actually finds it. It's that beautiful artwork of him putting it to his forehead and flashes back and everything. So he at that point he knows it's the same droid. But this story takes place long before that. So
say what you will, that's not the author's fault or the comic book writer's fault, because the prequels were written later, and you have the same problem with Uncle Owen buying C-3PO and R2-D2 at the Jawa market.
Yes,
it's top 5 worst Star Wars retcons, and it's in the movies. Yeah. Actually, I think all 5 of the worst Star Wars retcons are in the prequels. So,
Robert, did you have any thoughts on the what Alex read with the supernatural encounter tie into Cody Sunchild?
Not really. Sorry, I'm just going through the third law.
The artwork on Third Law, I think, is pretty good. Not all of them.
I think this was a good round of Marvel issues. That's
for sure.
That's
I don't feel drained after it. You know, sometimes we go through these and I'm like,
I agree.
Glad we're done. And this time,
the fact that they're all self-contained stories, I think, probably helps.
Probably.
That too. They fly by a lot quicker like that.
We're almost at the very end of Archie Goodwin's run. We've got, hang on, next issue's by Mike W. Barr. And then issue 50, I think, is Archie Goodwin's last issue, not counting Return of the Jedi.
Right.
Mm-hmm. To address the comments, Holonet YT, we are going in release order. That's the purpose of this podcast, the EU Wayback Machine. So we're covering, we're currently at the end of 1980. We've just covered The Empire Strikes Back and 2 episodes, counting this one, of comics subsequent to Empire Strikes Back. So
Yeah.
we will be,
Publication order with some caveats. Sometimes
Yes.
we jump ahead things just because, like, we were going through comic after comic after comic, and we were getting a little tired of it, especially because they weren't particular substance like this week was. So we read the Han Solo books, which would have been a little bit later, but we read them a
Yeah.
little bit early. It was okay.
We
So-
read them like 6 months out of.
yeah, we read them
Yeah, there
all
wasn't like a
together.
crazy difference. But
We'll probably do the same with the Lando Calrissian trilogy. We'll just read
Just to
them
spice it up, but-
in order, which
but we'll
shouldn't
say
be
in the beginning
far
where it
away
would
from-
actually be.
Mhm.
So
I think
Yeah.
we've reached the point where the comics are going to be a much easier read going forward,
no, for sure.
even though we're now in the era of 22-page issues.
So what is on the agenda for next time, gentlemen?
That is
What do we
such an excellent question, guys. Let me go to my thing for my.
got? This
Alex.
says.
Alex has got the Discord pulled up.
Oh,
Um,
I'm
the
getting it
Lando
up.
books are a trip. Yes, they definitely
Darth
are.
Vader Strikes and the Serpent Masters comic strips. I don't know if that would
Right.
be a single
Those are
episode.
LA Times. Yeah, that'll
You also have Death
probably.
Mask, TSB monthly 149, and the Pandora Effect. And then after that, it's Marvel issues 49 to 50 and 51 to 55. I don't know why 49 to 50 is just 2 issues unless they're like extremely long issues.
I think 50.
It might be because of the
50's
50th.
oversized.
50th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
50's
That's why.
double length, I think.
Crimson Forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then there's Deadly Reunion, Trader's Gambit, Marvel issues 56 to 59. I'm trying to think of when the first Lando book comes up. It doesn't
I think it's
come up
80
for a bit.
83, 84, maybe even. No, 83.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
It's a lot. Yeah. So it's just a whole bunch of comics for a long while. So
Eventually, we're gonna hit droids, and then we'll see what
Yes.
happens.
we'll see what happens then. Indeed. I'm trying to see when does Lando technically doesn't happen until after Return of the Jedi, the books. So
That's
chronologically, also they'd be way before. So I don't know if we want to just. That's the thing. They're not till after Return of the Jedi, so it looks like it's just comic.
Well,
comic.
if we're like almost in 1981, we might be able to make it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's nearly as much stuff through Empire as there was. I mean, the just deluge of tie-in material to A New Hope. There's just so much, but I don't think there
Right.
was nearly as much
Yeah.
for Empire. At least.
Oh,
So
look
we-
at this! A rare behind the scenes
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
examination of our episode plans.
Even though we've got it way wrong.
if you've stuck with us this far, this is your bonus.
You're getting bonus content. So we just did this. We did 45 to 48. We got all the way down here of a lot of comics till we
Okay,
get to
so
Return
we
of the
got
Jedi down
more
here
of-
at 51. So we're on 29. Goes all
Got
the way
more of
down.
classic Star Wars next.
So
Yeah.
a whole lot to get to,
Should
but
be
not
fun.
nearly as much as before, I think. So
Thank
you
you.
could probably
for
combine
all-
some of these too. So
Yeah, the Death Mask and the Pandora Effect are relatively short.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Right.
think
We can
we'll be okay.
discuss this.
Yeah, no, for
the
sure.
next
For sure.
episode. But
Sure.
just to give the viewers something to look forward to,
Yeah, exactly.
There is a plan. Trust the plan. We will go in order. We'll get to your
Yeah.
favorite story eventually. Just might take a long time.
It's
But
If
thank
it's
you.
stories in the Bantam era, it's gonna be a while. But
Thank you to everybody in the chat.
you.
Ghostfish, Holonet, Brennan for coming by earlier.
yeah,
Then
that stranger.
good seeing everyone.
Thanks everyone for watching. Thank you all for always being here. I got you trapped this says 2 hours, but we also did a previous stream, which means I got you guys trapped for almost a full Lord of the Rings extended movie. So
Yes, it's dark here.
It
This
is.
how long I've been sitting here.
It's
All right,
hard
I'll
to
let
tell
you-
for
I'll-
me, but yeah, same.
I'll let everybody be free of me. So thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, which we might be done for the month because we kind of did like 2 videos already. There might be one
It's up
more.
to you.
But if not, then we'll see you next month. But until then, guys, whenever that is, see you next time. Bye-bye.